The thunder cracked like a gunshot over Seattle's rain-lashed streets, and I stumbled into the downpour without a jacket, my phone dead in my pocket, convinced that tonight was the night everything finally broke me. Cars hissed past on the slick asphalt, spraying water like accusations, but one slowed, a beat-up old Mustang, its headlights cutting through the chaos like a lifeline I didn't deserve. The window rolled down, and there he was, sharp jawline shadowed by stubble, eyes the color of storm clouds but warmer, holding out an umbrella like he'd rehearsed this rescue in some forgotten dream. "Get in before you drown, Alex," he said, voice low and steady, as if he knew my name wasn't just a guess but a memory etched in rain. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. How did he know me? But the storm didn't care about questions. It shoved me forward, and I slid into the passenger seat, dripping and shivering, the scent of leather and his cologne wrapping around me like an unwanted embrace. He didn't ask why I was out here, soaked and shattered after that blowout with my best friend Mia, who I'd just confessed my buried feelings to, only for her to recoil like I'd poisoned the air between us. Instead, he cranked the heat, tossed me a towel from the back, and pulled away from the curb with a quiet, "I've got you." His name was Jordan, he said, as we merged into the traffic on Aurora Avenue, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the windshield like a metronome to my unraveling thoughts. I mumbled something about my apartment being just off Capitol Hill, but he nodded like it was no surprise, his fingers drumming the wheel in a way that felt familiar, too familiar, stirring ghosts I thought I'd buried back in high school. We'd gone to Roosevelt together, I realized with a jolt. Him the star soccer player everyone whispered about, me the quiet kid sketching in the margins of notebooks, stealing glances during lunch periods when no one was looking. But that was a lifetime ago, before I moved to Portland for college and came back to Seattle 2 years later, still fumbling through my closeted life like a blind man in a maze. "You look like hell," he said, not unkindly, glancing over with a half-smile that tugged at something deep in my chest. "Rough night." I laughed, a brittle sound that cracked in the humid air of the car. Rough didn't cover it. Mia had been my rock since freshman year, the one person I'd trusted enough to hint at the truth, the nights I'd spent staring at ceilings wondering if loving men made me broken. Tonight, over cheap Thai takeout in her cramped Belltown studio, I'd spilled it all. The crushes, the denial, the fear that my conservative family back in Spokane would disown me if they knew. She'd stared, then said, "Alex, I thought you liked me. Like, really liked me." The misunderstanding hit like the thunder outside now, her face paling as she realized my confession wasn't about her. It was about me, finally admitting who I was. I'd bolted, phone dying mid-apology text, ending up blocks from home in this biblical deluge. Jordan didn't pry, which was a mercy. He just drove, the radio humming low with some indie folk tune about lost roads and second chances, the kind of song that sneaks under your skin. We talked in fits and starts, about the Mariners' latest collapse, the absurd rent hikes turning Seattle into a ghost town for anyone under 30. He was a graphic designer now, freelancing from a loft in Fremont, the kind of guy who'd traded cleats for coffee shops and late-night Adobe sessions. "Life's too short for bad art," he said, eyes on the road, but I caught the weight behind it, like he'd learned that the hard way. I wanted to ask about the scars I glimpsed on his knuckles when he shifted gears, faded white lines like he'd punched through more than just walls. But the words stuck, tangled in the gratitude flooding my veins for this stranger who'd become my sudden harbor. By the time we pulled up to my building, a sagging brick walk-up with fire escapes like skeletal fingers, the rain had eased to a drizzle, streetlights pooling gold on the pavement. I hesitated, hand on the door, the towel still clutched in my lap like a shield. "Thanks, man. Seriously, I owe you." He turned, and in that suspended moment, his gaze locked on mine. Intense, searching, like he was seeing straight through the wet clothes and the lies I'd told myself for years. "You don't owe me anything, Alex. Just promise you'll call someone tomorrow. Doesn't have to be me." His voice dipped, rough around the edges, and before I could overthink it, he leaned across the console, pulling me into a hug that defied the awkward angle of the car. It wasn't sexual, not like that. Just raw, human warmth, his chin resting on my shoulder, breath steady against my neck. I stiffened at first, then melted, the storm outside forgotten as something inside me cracked open, letting in light I'd long kept shuttered. I stumbled out into the night, the door clicking shut behind me like a period on a sentence I wasn't ready to end. Up in my apartment, peeling off sodden clothes and collapsing onto the futon, I replayed it all: the umbrella, the towel, that hug that lingered like smoke. My phone, plugged in and gasping back to life, buzzed with missed calls from Mia, voicemails thick with tears and apologies. But it was Jordan's number I punched in first, saved from the business card he'd slipped me with a casual, "In case you need another ride." The text I sent was simple: "Made it home. Thanks for being my knight in rusty armor." His reply came fast: "Anytime. Sleep tight." I lay there, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped out like veins, wondering if destiny was real or just another pretty lie. Little did I know, Jordan's world was unraveling too. That hug was an impulse, but the first thread pulling us toward a tangle of secrets, loves, and betrayals that would test every fragile bond I'd ever known. The next morning dawned gray but dry, Seattle's perpetual compromise with sunshine. I woke to the smell of overbrewed coffee from the pot I'd forgotten to turn off, head throbbing from a night of fitful dreams where Jordan's arms were both salvation and snare. Mia's texts piled up like accusations. "I'm so sorry, Alex." I was shocked, "But I love you. Talk to me." Guilt gnawed at me. She'd been my closest friend, the one who dragged me to pride parades last summer, waving rainbow flags while I hung back, pretending it was all for her. But now, with the confession out, our friendship felt like a house of cards in a breeze. I typed back a halting "coffee later? Need to explain," then showered, the hot water sluicing away the chill, but not the questions. Work dragged, barista shifts at a hole-in-the-wall cafe in Pike Place, steaming lattes for tourists who mistook my exhaustion for artistic brooding. Between rushes, my mind wandered to Jordan. That easy confidence, the way he'd said my name like it belonged on his tongue. Was he gay? Bi? Straight with a savior complex? The uncertainty itched, a reminder of all the times I'd misread signals, like with Ethan in college, the roommate who'd shared my dorm bed during blackouts but ghosted when I tried to name it. By afternoon, impulse one, I texted Jordan, "Lunch? My treat for the ride." His reply, "Deal. That falafel spot on First? 1 p.m. He was already there when I arrived, sprawled at an outdoor table under strung lights, sketching on a napkin with a pencil that looked well-loved. Seeing him in daylight hit different, taller than I'd remembered, broad shoulders filling out a faded band tee, laugh lines crinkling when he spotted me. "You clean up nice," he teased, standing to pull out my chair, a gesture so natural it disarmed me. We ordered hummus plates and mint tea, and fell into conversation like we'd never stopped. He talked about his latest project, designing album covers for a local queer indie band, dropping the word queer casual as breathing. My pulse quickened. Was that a signal? I shared bits of my own stalled dreams, graphic novels gathering dust on my hard drive, stories of outsiders finding their way. "You should finish one," he said, eyes earnest. The world starving for honest voices. As plates cleared, the air thickened with unspoken things. Mia texted mid-meal, "Running late. See you at 4? And I mentioned her in passing, the friend who'd freaked out last night. Jordan's brow furrowed. Freaked out about what? I hesitated, then let it spill. The confession, the rain, my fear of losing her. He listened, nodding slow, then reached across the table, squeezing my wrist. "That's brave, Alex. Coming out's a storm all its own. Me'll come around. She sounds like she cares." His touch lingered a beat too long, electric, and when he pulled back, our eyes met in a way that said volumes. Walking me to the bus stop after, he bumped my shoulder. "Hey, there's this art walk in Ballard Friday. Want company?" I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, I'd like that." Friday came laced with anticipation. I met Jordan outside a gallery strung with fairy lights, the autumn air crisp with salt from the sound. We wandered rooms alive with color, abstracts of fractured hearts, portraits of lovers in defiant embrace. He bought me a print, two silhouettes merging against a sunset, titled Interference. "Reminds me of last night," he said softly, and I wondered if he meant the storm or something deeper. Over beers at a nearby pub, stories flowed. His coming out at 17, The fist fight with his dad that sent him couch surfing, the queer collective in college that pieced him back together. It's not linear, he admitted, tracing foam on his glass. Some days, I'm still fighting shadows. I opened up too. The church youth group back home that preached love but meant exclusion. The first boy I kissed behind the bleachers, only to panic and swear it off. Jordan listened without judgment, his presence a balm. As the night waned, he walked me to my bus again, the city humming around us. At the stop, he turned, rain starting to spit from low clouds. "Alex," he said, voice husky, "that hug the other night? It wasn't just pity." Before I could respond, he cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek, and kissed me, soft, tentative, tasting of hops and hope. The world tilted, my hands fisting his shirt, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. But as the bus doors hissed open, reality intruded. A text from Mia. "Where are you? We need to talk now." And in the shadows of Jordan's gaze, I glimpsed something held back, a flicker of pain, like he was kissing me goodbye already. Little did I know, his ex, Liam, was back in town, stirring old wounds, and my confession to Mia had set off a chain reaction that would drag us all into the eye of a far crueler storm. The kiss lingered on my lips like a bruise as the bus jolted toward Capitol Hill, Seattle's nightlife blurring past in neon streaks. I touched my mouth, disbelieving, the taste of Jordan mingling with the metallic tang of fear. What now? Mia was waiting, her texts escalating from worried to wounded, and here I was, tumbling headfirst into something that felt like fate but screamed complication. By the time I pushed through the door of her studio, the air was thick with the scent of cooling pad thai and unspoken accusations. She was curled on the couch, eyes red-rimmed, a half-empty wine glass sweating on the coffee table. "Alex," she whispered, standing to hug me, her embrace fierce but fragile. "I thought I'd lost you." We sank onto the cushions, words tumbling out. My apologies for the clumsy reveal, her confession that she'd harbored a crush on me for years, misreading my distance as shyness rather than the war inside. "I felt so stupid," she said, voice cracking, like I'd been chasing a ghost. I held her hand, explaining the rain-soaked escape, the ride from an old acquaintance, careful to skim over the kiss that still hummed in my veins. But Mia's intuition was sharp. She pulled back, searching my face. "This acquaintance. He means something, doesn't he?" I shrugged, heat rising, but she pressed. "Be honest with me, Alex. After tonight, no more half-truths." So I told her about Jordan, the high school echoes, the art walk, the moment under the spitting rain that shifted everything. Her expression softened, then twisted with something like envy. "God, it's like a movie. But what about us? Our friendship?" Tears welled, and I promised it wouldn't change, that she was family, irreplaceable. We talked until dawn crept in, gray light filtering through blinds, forging a tentative peace. She even laughed when I described Jordan's napkin sketches. "Sounds like a keeper. Just don't ghost me for him, okay?" I nodded, relief flooding me, unaware that her words were a seed of doubt, one that would grow thorns in the weeks to come. Saturday brought Jordan to my door, coffee in hand, and a grin that lit the dim hallway. "Thought you might need this after last night." We spent the day wandering Queen and hitting vintage shops and a farmer's market bursting with autumn apples and artisan cheeses. He was easy to be with, teasing me about my terrible bargaining at a record stall, sharing earbuds on a park bench to listen to mixtapes he'd curated. "This one's for rainy days," he said, cueing a track about mending broken compasses. Our hands brushed, lingered, and by afternoon, we were stealing kisses behind a stack of crates at the market, the world narrowing to his laugh against my skin. But beneath the glow, cracks showed. His phone buzzed incessantly, texts he silenced with a grimace. "Work stuff," he muttered, but his eyes darkened, distant. I didn't push, too caught in the newness, but it nagged, a reminder that people carried baggage heavier than backpacks. That evening, over pizza in my apartment, he opened up more. The freelance grind, the fear of burnout, how soccer had been his armor until an injury sidelined him senior year, forcing a reckoning with who he was off the field. "Coming out saved me, but it cost everything else," he said, pizza slice forgotten. "Family fractured, friends scattered. You ever feel like you're always apologizing for existing?" I nodded, throat tight, sharing my own fractures. The letters from Mom laced with Bible verses, Dad's silence louder than sermons. In that moment, vulnerability bridged us, his hand finding mine across the coffee table, fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces. Word spread fast in our overlapping circles. Mia invited us to a game night at her place midweek, her way of testing the waters. Jordan arrived with a bottle of Pinot and board games under one arm, charming her roommates with stories of disastrous design clients. We played Settlers of Catan, laughter echoing off exposed brick walls, but tension simmered. Mia's glances lingered on Jordan a beat too long, her jokes edged with a sharpness I chalked up to nerves. When he excused himself to the balcony for a call, she cornered me in the kitchen. "He's intense, Alex. You sure you're ready?" I bristled, defensive. "What's that supposed to mean?" She backpedaled. "Nothing, just protect your heart." But her eyes said more. Hurt, perhaps, or the ghost of what-ifs. The call was Liam, Jordan confessed later, walking me home through fog-shrouded streets. His ex, back from New York after a year of radio silence, needing closure over drinks. "It's nothing," Jordan insisted, but his grip on my hand tightened, knuckles whitening. Liam had been his first real love, fiery artist type, all passion and pitfalls, their breakup a wreckage of infidelity and unspoken needs. He cheated, I stayed too long. Lesson learned. I absorbed it, jealousy flickering but doused by empathy. We'd both been burned. At my door, he kissed me deeper, urgent, as if staking claim. "You're different," he murmured against my lips. "Real." I believed him, pulling him inside. But we kept it chaste, nights tangled in talks, not sheets, building something solid on whispers and trust. Weeks blurred into a rhythm, mornings with Jordan's texts waking me, evenings sketching together on his loft floor, takeout containers as pallets. Mia integrated too, our trio forming at brunches where she'd rib Jordan about his hipster beard, him retaliating with playlists tailored to her indie obsessions. It felt like family, the kind I'd craved, unconditional, queer-coded, alive with inside jokes and shared glances. But prejudices lurked in the margins. A coworker at the cafe overhearing my call with Jordan, smirking roommate, with a wink that curdled milk. A family dinner invite from Mom that I declined, citing work, the lie tasting bitter. Then the misunderstanding detonated. It started innocently. A group hike up Rattlesnake Ledge, Mia, Jordan, me, and a few mutuals from the queer collective. The trail wound steep through evergreens, laughter echoing as we paused for water breaks. Jordan and I lagged behind, hands swinging close, when Mia turned back, snapping a photo. For the memories. But later, scrolling her phone at the summit, she froze, face draining. "Alex, who's this in Jordan's story?" She shoved the screen at me. An Instagram post from last night. Jordan tagged in a club shot, arm around a guy who wasn't me, captions winking reunited, and it feels so good old flames. Liam. My stomach plummeted, the view of the lake below suddenly vertiginous. "It's nothing," Jordan said when confronted on the drive down, voice strained over the engine hum. Liam showed up at the bar, insisted on a drink for old times. "I told him about you, but the photo said otherwise. Intimate lean, shared smiles that twisted like knives." Mia shot me a look. "Told you to protect your heart." Doubt flooded in, cold as the Cascade chill. That night, alone in my apartment, I scrolled their history. Years of posts, tangled timelines, Jordan's captions evolving from adoration to ache. Had I been the rebound? The safe harbor after the storm? Sleep evaded, replaced by replays. The kiss in the rain now tainted, his hugs suspect. Morning brought confrontation. I met Jordan at his loft, the space once a sanctuary now echoing with accusations. "Explain," I demanded, phone thrust forward. He paled, running hands through his hair. "Alex, it's not what it looks." But words failed, replaced by a story of ambush. Liam crashing his solo sketch night. Camera phone evidence planted to provoke. "He's toxic, always has been." I shoved him off, but the damage. Hurt cracked his voice, and seeing it, the raw plea in his eyes, shook my resolve. We argued, voices rising over scattered pencils, until he pulled me close, forehead to forehead. "I choose you. Every time." Forgiveness came halting, A truce sealed with quiet talks on his fire escape, stars pricking the city haze. But the seed Mia planted had taken root, whispering that trust was a luxury we couldn't afford. Unbeknownst to us, Liam wasn't done. His return wasn't closure but conquest, and Mia's loyalty, tested by her own unresolved feelings, teetered on a knife's edge. The real storm was brewing, one that would force choices none of us were ready for, unraveling the fragile web we'd spun in the wake of that first rainy ride. Fall deepened in Seattle, leaves carpeting sidewalks in crimson and gold, but the chills settling in my bones had little to do with weather. Jordan and I patched the fracture with deliberate care. Date nights at dive bars where we'd whisper futures over whiskey sours. Weekends volunteering at the local LGBTQ center, sorting donations while stealing glances that reignited the spark. He was patient, doubling down on transparency. Phone left face up, stories shared before asked. No more ghosts, he'd say, tracing my palm with his thumb during movie marathons on his lumpy couch. I wanted to believe him, to let the warmth chase out the doubt, but Mia's warnings echoed, a low hum beneath our harmony. She pulled back subtly at first, canceled brunches with deadlines, her texts shorter, laced with emojis that felt forced. When we did meet, at a poetry slam in the Central District, her energy was off, laughs too loud, eyes darting to Jordan with a scrutiny that bordered on accusation. The performer on stage spat verses about queer invisibility, lines like, "We love in the margins, bleed in the bold," hitting too close. Afterward, over falafel wraps on the curb, Mia cornered me while Jordan fetched napkins. "Have you seen Liam's feed lately?" she asked, voice low. I hadn't, but she pulled it up. More tags, cryptic posts about second chances, geotagged to Jordan's favorite haunts. He's circling Alex. And Jordan. He's not pushing back hard enough. Jealousy flared, irrational but insistent, painting Jordan's late nights as betrayals. I confronted him that evening, sprawled on his loft floor amid half-finished designs. "Liam's everywhere. What aren't you telling me?" He sighed, setting aside his tablet, the weight of exhaustion etching his face. "He's reaching out because he knows about us. Thinks he can rattle me." The story unfolded. Liam's calls ignored, but a recent email, apologetic, nostalgic, hinting at reconciliation not just with Jordan but their shared circle, including Mia, who'd once been his confidant during darker days. "She never told you?" Jordan asked, surprise flickering. No, she hadn't, and the omission stung, another layer to the mistrust weaving through our trio. The conflict escalated at a house party in Wallingford, hosted by Jordan's band friends, queer punks with tattoos and tales of survival. Music thumped through open windows, bodies swaying in a haze of smoke and spilled beer. Mia arrived late, fashionably disheveled in a thrift store dress, and gravitated to Jordan like a moth to flame. I watched from the kitchen, nursing a soda, as they laughed over old photos on his phone. High school antics, preemie, a time when she'd crushed on him too, before realizing her heart leaned elsewhere. The sight twisted something primal. Was this payback for my confession, her way of evening the score? When Liam sauntered in uninvited, tall, tousled blonde, all sharp charisma, the air shifted, charged like pre-thunder. He made rounds, air-kissing cheeks, but his eyes locked on Jordan, a predator's gleam. "Missed you, Jay," he drawled, loud enough for the room to hush. Jordan stiffened beside me on the couch, hand finding my knee under the pretense of casual. "Liam, didn't expect the +1. Mia hovered nearby, her smile brittle, interjecting with, "Great to see you, Lee. It's been ages." The undercurrent pulled taut, Mia vouching for him, Jordan's jaw clenching, my pulse racing with a cocktail of rage and inadequacy. Liam perched on the armrest, regaling with New York exploits, but his foot brushed Jordan's, deliberate, and that's when I snapped. "Back off," I muttered, standing, voice cutting through the din. Heads turned, the party fracturing into whispers. Jordan pulled me aside to the porch, rain pattering on the awning like impatient fingers. "He's baiting us, Alex. Don't give him the win." But hurt boiled over. "And you?" Smiling like it's nothing. He cupped my face, urgent. "It's you I want." Liam's the past, messy, but buried. His kiss was fierce, claiming, but inside, Mia and Liam clinked glasses, her laughter carrying like a challenge. The night unraveled from there. Liam cornering Jordan in the hallway for a quick chat. Mia pulling me into the bathroom for tears and tirades. "He's using you to get to Jordan," she sobbed, mascara streaking. "I saw the texts. He's obsessed." "Whose texts?" "Liam's to her, apparently, spilling vitriol about Jordan moving on too fast, appealing to her lingering affections. "I didn't want to hurt you," she whispered, but the betrayal landed heavy, her silence a shield for her own chaos. We left early, Jordan and I silent in the Uber, the city lights smearing like accusations. At his place, words failed. We collapsed into bed, backs turned, the space between us a chasm. Morning brought fragile amends, coffee and confessions. Him admitting Liam's email had stirred old guilts, the fear of repeating cycles. I pushed him away for good last night. Blocked everywhere. I nodded, but the damage lingered, a hairline fracture in our foundation. Mia called mid-apology brunch, voice small. "I messed up, Alex. Keeping his secrets. It was stupid. Forgive me." I did, because what else was family for? But trust, once chipped, doesn't mend clean. Prejudices amplified the strain. Jordan's conservative aunt visited from Boise, her Bible tucked under arm like armor, eyeing our linked hands at dinner with pursed lips. "Family's about blood, Jordan," she said over pot roast, her words a velvet glove over steel. He bristled, defending us with quiet fire. "Family's chosen too, Aunt Ruth. Love doesn't need your permission." She left early, but her chill seeped in, reminding Jordan and me of the world's unyielding edges. At work, a regular overheard my call to him. "Love you too," and sneered, "Fairy tales over, kid." Tipping pennies on a 20. Mia faced her own, her straight-laced boss at the nonprofit quizzing her lifestyle choices during review, the implication clear. Yet surprises bloomed amid the thorns. Jordan surprised me with tickets to a queer film fest in Capitol Hill, ushers handing out pride pins like talismans. We watched docs on Stonewall survivors, their resilience a mirror to our skirmishes, holding hands in the dark as credits rolled to applause. Afterward, street vendors hawked glow sticks, and we danced impromptu under marquees, Mia joining via FaceTime from her shift, her cheers bridging the miles. It felt like progress, a high before the inevitable drop. The drop came swift, a leaked email chain from Liam, forwarded anonymously to the collective's group chat. Screenshots of Jordan's old messages, venting frustrations from their breakup, words twisted to paint him as volatile, untrustworthy. "See? He's the problem," Liam's note read, CCing Mia prominently. Panic rippled, friends side-eyeing at the next meetup, Jordan's gigs drying up as clients whispered doubts. He withdrew, sketching furiously in isolation, while I raged at Mia. "You knew he had this?" She swore ignorance, but her delay in warning us spoke volumes. "I'm scared too," she admitted over wine, "of losing you both to this drama." The climax brewed at a mediation circle the collective organized, neutral ground in a community center basement, fluorescent hum underscoring the tension. Liam arrived smug, flanked by allies, Jordan, steely-eyed, with me at his side, Mia, torn, hovering on the periphery. Words flew, accusations of manipulation, defenses of intent, tears stripping us bare. "You think you can rewrite us?" Jordan roared at Liam, voice breaking. Liam countered with, "You left me broken, now you're playing house." Mia interjected, voice trembling. "Enough. This isn't love, it's poison." Her revelation stunned. She'd been feeding Liam intel unwittingly, lonely nights turning to vents that he weaponized. "I thought I was helping him heal," she choked, "but I hurt you worst." The room fractured, alliances shifting like sand. I pulled Jordan out into the night, rain sheeting down again, that fateful storm's echo. "We can't keep fighting shadows," I said, soaked and spent. He nodded, pulling me close. "Then let's run toward the light." But as we drove away, Mia's unanswered call buzzing in my pocket, I wondered if the real surprise was yet to come, a betrayal deeper, rooted in love's blind spots, threatening to bury us all. Winter crept in on Seattle's heels, frosting windows and shortening days, mirroring the frost between us. The mediation had cauterized some wounds, but left scars. Jordan's trust in the collective eroded, gigs sparse, his loft a cocoon of takeout boxes and unfinished art. I'd shuttle between his place and Mia's, mediator in a war neither wanted, but exhaustion wore thin. Pick a side, Alex. Mia pleaded one night over lukewarm ramen in her studio, her eyes hollowed by regret. I'm not the villain here. I wanted to reassure her, to mend the girl who'd been my anchor, but Jordan's quiet pleas, she let him in too deep, echoed louder, a tug-of-war fraying my seams. Prejudice amplified from all angles. Jordan's aunt escalated, mailing pamphlets on redemption that he burned in the sink, flames licking pages like judgment. My parents called, Mom's voice syrup sweet. When are you bringing a nice girl home, honey? The lie I spun, seeing someone special, hung heavy, her pause a chasm. At the cafe, the sneering regular returned with a companion, their mutters about agenda pushers loud enough to draw stares. Management pulled me aside. Keep it professional. Code for invisible. Mia fared worse. Her boss's concerns morphed into probation, whispers of her distracting personal life, the unspoken whip. We three, once unbreakable, now splintered mirrors reflecting each other's pain. Yet love persisted, stubborn as Seattle drizzle. Jordan and I carved sanctuaries, drives to Discovery Park at dawn, boots crunching frost-laced trails, his hand in mine a defiant warmth. Remember the first storm? He'd murmur, nuzzling my neck during picnics of PB&J and thermos coffee. I'd laugh, the memory a talisman, the Mustang, the hug, destiny's interference. Intimacy deepened not in bedsheets, but souls. Him reading my unfinished graphic novel aloud, voice cracking on the protagonist's coming-out monologue, me massaging knots from his shoulders after nightmare-plagued sleeps, Liam's ghost haunting his dreams. You're mine now, he'd whisper, kisses soft as snowfall, building us brick by vulnerable brick. Surprises punctuated the grind. Mia, seeking atonement, organized a surprise showcase for Jordan at a Fremont gallery, her nonprofit connections pulling strings, invites to sympathetic clients. We arrived to fairy lights and finger foods, his designs projected on walls like confessions. He froze in the doorway, eyes misting. You did this. She nodded, tentative smile breaking through. For you. Both of you. The night soared, handshakes turning to commissions, Jordan's laugh genuine for the first time in weeks. Later, the three of us on the gallery roof, city sprawl twinkling below, toasts clinked with plastic cups of cheap Chardonnay. Two interferences, Mia said, winking, and for a moment, forgiveness flowered, the trio reborn. But Liam lurked, a shadow lengthening. He escalated, anonymous posts on local queer forums dredging Jordan's past, twisted anecdotes of abuse that gained traction, fueled by bots and bitter exes. Jordan's phone became a minefield, voicemails from strangers spewing vitriol. Predator, fake ally. He spiraled, canceling our plans, holing up with whiskey and wideouts over sketches. What if they're right? He confessed one midnight, voice slurred over the line. What if I'm the storm? I raced to his loft, finding him amid crumpled paper storms, pulling him into my lap on the floor. You're the shelter, I insisted, rocking him through sobs, but the poison seeped, eroding his fire. Mia's conflict peaked when Liam cornered her at a coffee shop, her favorite haunt, he knew from old texts. She texted me frantic, he's here. Help. Jordan and I burst in, the scene a tableau. Liam at her table, hand on her arm, words honeyed poison. Just catching up, babe, he smirked as we approached. Mia yanked free, voice steel. We're done, Lee. All of us. But his parting shot landed. Ask your friends about the night they left me bleeding, literally. The claim hung, absurd, but doubt wormed in. That evening, over emergency pizza in my apartment, truths unraveled. Jordan admitted a forgotten detail from their breakup brawl, a shoved lamp, Liam's split lip, charges never filed but threats exchanged. Self-defense, he swore, but it haunts. Mia, pale, revealed Liam's manipulation, fabricated stories to isolate her, preying on her bisexuality's insecurities, making her question if she belonged in our gay boys club. The revelation cleaved us, Mia retreating to process, Jordan blaming himself for the chain reaction, me adrift in mediation's debris. Friendships frayed, collective members ghosting Jordan, His inbox a graveyard of unsubscribes. I defended him fiercely, quitting the cafe after another slur-laced tip, but isolation crept, our world shrinking to each other. Love became lifeline, nights of whispered affirmations, his head on my chest as rain lashed windows. We'll weather it, I'd vow, but tension coiled, a spring wound tight. The high tide of conflict crashed at a holiday market in Pike Place, garlands and gingerbread masking malice. We'd gone for normalcy, gloved hands linked, sampling cider, when Liam appeared, entourage in tow, video rolling on his phone. Smile for the truthers, he jeered, shoving through crowds. Jordan lunged, fists clenched, but I held him back, heart pounding. Mia, shopping solo nearby, materialized like fate, inserting between them. Stop this circus, Liam. You're the one bleeding lies. The crowd murmured, phones out, capturing the standoff. Liam's snarl, Jordan's restraint, Mia's fury. Security intervened, escorting him out, but damage bloomed. Clips viral by morning, hashtags twisting, abuser exposed from context. Backlash hit like a gale. Jordan's aunt called, disowning formally, can't support sin's cycle. My parents, catching wind via a concerned cousin's forward, left voicemails laced with prayer requests. Dad's gruff, sort yourself out, son. Mia's job suspended her pending investigation. Her bisexuality now professional liability. We three holed up at Jordan's, barricaded with board games and bad TV, but cracks widened. Mia snapping at Jordan's defensiveness, him accusing her of enabling, me buffering until my own resentment boiled. Why can't we just be? I yelled one night, plates clattering. Silence fell, heavy, the weight of external hate mirroring internal wars. In the quiet aftermath, growth stirred. Jordan started therapy via the center's sliding scale, unpacking Liam's gaslighting with a counselor's gentle probes. It's not me, it's the echo, he'd report, lighter each session. Mia channeled rage into advocacy, blogging anonymously about by erasure in queer spaces, her words gaining quiet traction. I dusted off my graphic novel, inking pages of our story, storms, rides, interferences, as catharsis. Love evolved too. Jordan proposing we move in together, his loft our fortress, a step toward permanence amid chaos. But the surprise twist loomed, a revelation that would shatter assumptions. Liam's campaign wasn't solo malice but funded by a bigger prejudice. A fringe group's test case to expose the collective's vulnerabilities. Mia uncovered it first, sifting old emails, her gasp pulling us into a late-night huddle. It's not just him, she said, screen glowing accusations. It's us against a machine. The high-stakes alliance reformed, forging us toward confrontation, where love's true test, forged in understanding, would demand everything. The revelation hung over us like a gathering squall, Mia's laptop screen casting blue shadows on our faces in Jordan's loft, the holiday lights outside twinkling mockingly cheerful. She'd traced the money, donations from a shadowy Family Values Alliance, a network of conservative donors masquerading as watchdogs, funneling cash to agitators like Liam to sow discord in queer communities. He's their pawn, she explained, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Paid to dig up dirt, amplify it. Our collective's next on their hit list. Events canceled, funding pulled. Jordan paced, fists balled, the betrayal layering atop personal scars. Bastards using him like a blunt instrument. And us as collateral. Rage unified us, a phoenix from ashes. We three plotted in whispers over cooling mugs of chamomile, sketching countermeasures, document trails, ally outreach, a counter-narrative video series. Mia's blog evolved into a hub, her by perspective bridging gaps, drawing supporters from unexpected quarters, straight allies, former foes. Jordan channeled fury into art, murals of intertwined fists against storm clouds adorning the loft walls, symbols of resilience. I scripted our story for the videos, raw testimonies of love's endurance, my voiceover cracking on lines about chosen family. We're not victims, Jordan said, editing footage late nights, his knee pressed to mine. We're the interference they fear. But unity tested limits. External pressures mounted. My parents cut contact after a final, tearful call. This lifestyle's destroying you. Alex, leaving voicemails of silence that echoed louder than words. Jordan's freelance dried to drips, bills stacking like indictments, forcing side hustles at a print shop where coworkers' side eyes chilled more than the presses. Mia's suspension dragged, her therapist warning of burnout, but she pushed, fueled by a fire we'd all kindled. Internally, old ghosts stirred, Mia and Jordan clashing over strategy. Your art's pretty, but we need action. Me refereeing until my patience frayed. Enough. We're bleeding out from fighting each other. A low point came mid-January, gray skies weeping sleet as we trudged to a strategy meet at the center. Liam ambushed outside, face gaunt under street lamps. No entourage this time. Wait, he called, voice stripped bare. Jordan halted, me and Mia flanking like sentinels. I know what you're planning. Alliance cut me loose, said I failed to break you. Desperation etched him, eyes darting. Help me flip it. Testify against them. Suspicion warred with pity. Was this redemption or ruse? Mia, ever the bridge, probed, why now? He sagged, confessing the spiral, paychecks dwindling, isolation's bite, a suicide scare that landed him in ER. I was angry, lost. But you built something real. I want out. We waited days, therapy sessions dissecting motives, until trust tentatively extended. A supervised statement, recorded, Liam naming names and laundering fronts. The video dropped anonymously to journalists, ripples turning to waves, exposés in local rags, Alliance scrambling denials. But backlash bit. Doxing threats flooded inboxes, our addresses leaked, forcing Jordan to crash at Mia's while I boarded windows. Fear-coiled nights, sleep fractured by what-ifs. Love our only anchor. Jordan's arms around me in stolen moments. Whispers of we got this, mantras against dread. Surprises sweetened the bitter. An old high school teacher, spotting Mia's blog, donated to our legal fund. Turns out she'd been closeted too, inspired by our grit. Jordan landed a commission from a progressive publisher. Book cover for a memoir on queer survival, The Advance a Godsend. I finished my graphic novel's first arc, self-publishing digitally, shares spiking from collective shares. Mia rebounded professionally, her nonprofit reinstating with apologies, promoting her to advocate lead. The trio solidified, weekly check-ins over virtual charcuterie, laughter reclaiming space, vulnerabilities aired like laundry. Yet conflict crested anew when Liam's testimony cracked under pressure. Alliance lawyers leaned in, offering him immunity for recanting, framing us as extortionists. He buckled, public affidavit claiming coercion, our evidence tainted. Fury erupted, Jordan smashing a mug in the loft, shards scattering like trust. We were fools. Mia wept, guilt resurging. I paced, mind racing. No? We pivot. But the toll mounted. A brick through the center's window, scrawled sinners, police dismissing as prank. Jordan withdrew, sketches turning dark, thunderheads devouring figures, while Mia spiraled into overwork, ghosting texts. Me? Numbness set in, love feeling like liability. The initial ride's magic faded to obligation. The breaking point arrived Valentine's Eve, snow blanketing Seattle in rare hush. Jordan and I planned a quiet dinner, candles flickering on his reclaimed table, but he arrived hollow-eyed, Liam's recant in hand. It's over, he said, voice flat. They win. Words escalated to shouts, me accusing avoidance, him lashing at my naivety, until he stormed out into the flurry, doors slamming like finality. I chased, boots slipping on ice, catching him blocks away under a viaduct's shelter. Don't, I begged, breath clouding. We started in a storm. We'll end in one too. He turned, tears freezing on lashes, pulling me into a crush of coats and desperation. I can't lose you to this madness. Mia found us there, summoned by my frantic text, her car idling nearby. She bundled us inside, heater blasting, driving to her studio without question. Over hot cocoa laced with rum, truths poured. Jordan's fear of dragging me down, Mia's shame at trusting Liam twice, my terror of isolation. We're the machine now, I said, half joke, unbreakable gears. Laughter broke, tentative, then real, forging deeper bonds. Acknowledging prejudice is not just outside, but in Jordan's hyper-independence masking abandonment wounds. Mia's people-pleasing born of by invalidation, my perfectionism a shield against rejection. Growth accelerated. We three therapy hopped, group sessions unpacking intersections, race, class, identity, in our fights. Jordan's art bloomed therapeutic, a series on echo storms selling at a pop-up, proceeds to anti-hate orgs. Mia mentored by youth, her confidence radiant. I queried agents with my novel, rejections stealing resolve. Love with Jordan matured, shared chores as rituals, arguments ending in I hear you. Vulnerability, our eroticism, nights of slow dances in kitchens, body's language for stay. But the arc bent toward climax. Alliance sued the collective for defamation, Liam their star witness, trial looming like guillotine. Subpoenas arrived, our testimonies demanded, forcing confrontation with the man who'd unraveled us. Face him, our counselor urged, reclaim the narrative. Preparation consumed spring, mock trials in living rooms, scripts of composure. Surprises aided, a whistleblower from Alliance ranks, guilt-stricken ally leaking internals, bolstering our defense. Media shifted, profiles humanizing us, the trio who fought back. As court dates neared, tension peaked. Jordan's nightmares returning, Mia's insomnia, my stomach knotted perpetual. Love anchored, promises etched in skin, no matter the verdict. The storm that birthed us echoed in every gale. Destiny's interference now our weapon, hurtling toward resolution where understanding would dawn or devour. Court convened in a downtown Seattle hall, all polished wood and echoing footsteps, the air thick with anticipation and cheap coffee. Spring sun slanted through high windows, mocking the gravity. Us three in ill-fitting suits, hands clasped under the gallery rail, facing the Alliance's phalanx of suits and Liam's averted gaze. He'd aged a decade in months, gaunt and guarded, but his testimony opened wounds afresh, rehearsed tales of harassment, painting our outreach as vendetta. Jordan's knuckles whitened on mine, Mia's breath hitching, but we held, a silent vow amid the legalese drone. Our turn came like thunder. Mia first, poised at the stand, voice clear as she dismantled Liam's narrative, text time-stamped, her blog's evolution from victim to victor. He preyed on vulnerabilities, not just mine, but all of ours. The Alliance? They fund division to drown out voices like mine, bisexual, brown, bold. The jury leaned in, her authenticity a current pulling them. Questions probed her biases, cross-exams sly, but she parried with grace, exposing the interrogator's own blind spots. Whispers rippled, a wind seeded. Jordan followed, shoulders squared, his artist's eye framing the chaos. Liam wasn't the villain alone, he admitted, voice steady. I enabled cycles, codependency, silence. But love? That's what broke it. He detailed the ride with me, not as romance's start, but growths. From isolation to interconnection. Sketches projected, our story in ink, humanized the abstract, his vulnerability cracking defenses. When pressed on the abuse, he owned fragments without shame. Pain shared doesn't justify weaponizing it. Tears glistened, not defeat but release. The room shifted, empathy edging out skepticism. My testimony closed the circle, heart hammering as I recounted the storm's hook, the dead phone, the Mustang's haven, Destiny's medal. It wasn't just a ride. It was permission to feel, to falter, to fight. I wove our trio's arc, misunderstandings as mirrors, prejudices as forge fires, surprises as sparks. Liam's eyes met mine fleeting, regret, resignation, but I pressed on, forgiving aloud. You were lost, we all were. But hate's machine? It grinds everyone. The Alliance's lawyer faltered, objections overruled, my words lingering like aftershock. Deliberations stretched days, us three bunkered in Mia's studio, nerves frayed with Netflix binges and what-if games. If we lose, Jordan mused, head on my lap, we rebuild elsewhere. Mia scoffed, nah, we'd riot, politely. Laughter bonded, love's quiet revolutions. Jordan proposing mid-panic with a sketched ring. Marry the mess? I teared up, yes on lips before thought. Mia hooped, toasting with Prosecco, her own spark reigniting. A date with a non-binary poet from the center, by pride unapologetic. Verdict dropped on a blooming April morning. Defamation dismissed. Alliance's funding scrutinized. Liam's perjury probed. Cheers erupted in the hall. Hugs from allies. Media frenzy a blur. Outside, under cherry blossoms shedding pink confetti, we three collapsed on courthouse steps, weeping and whooping. Liam passed, handcuffs glinting, mouthing sorry that we nodded away. Closure not absolution, but end. Aftermath cascaded gifts. Collective thrived, events packed. Our video series Emmy buzzed for docs. Jordan's murals commissioned citywide. His proposal leading to a summer wedding. Backyard affair. Rain held at bay. Mia's book Deal On by Intersections flew off shelves. Her romance blossoming steady. My novel? Agent snagged. Graphic adaptation greenlit. Our story's core beating heart. Prejudices persisted. Family letters softened but skeptical. Societal sneers chronic. But we'd armored in understanding. Conflicts catalysts for depth. Friendships mended wider. High school ghosts reconciling. New bonds from trials fringes. Love with Jordan flowered domestic. Mornings tangled in his loft now ours. Evenings sketching futures. Kids maybe. Adoption dreams whispered. You saved me that night, he'd say, echoing the storm. I'd counter. We saved each other. Mia, maid of honor fierce, reminded. Trio forever. Interference included. Yet the true high came unscripted. A year on, anniversary eve, Mustang waxed gleaming. We three road-tripped Olympic Peninsula, windows down, wind whipping worries away. At Hurricane Ridge, vista vast, Jordan pulled over, echoing that first hug, arms enveloping, destiny's echo. Here's to storms, he murmured. Mia snapped the photo, grins eternal. In that frame, we'd captured it. Love not linear, but labyrinthine. Twists of misunderstanding yielding treasures of trust. Prejudices bowed by persistence. Surprises the spice of survival. Life rolled on, messy and magnificent, our ride far from over. But in every cloudburst, we'd remember, sometimes, destiny doesn't interfere, it invites you to steer.